and welcome back to Social Listening right here on the BDTV Breakfast Show. This is where we bring to you some of the stories making the rounds on social media. My name is Elizabeth Musa, and joining me on this lovely Friday morning,
Onyeka Valentine.
right here in the studio today to talk about some of the interesting stories making the rounds on social media. Let's start off with Rivers State, where a disturbing video has surfaced showing a pastor flogging around 20 naked children aged between 5 and 9 in the name of spiritual cleansing. The children were beaten with palm tree leaves, tossed around, and forced to endure a 3-day deliverance program. One parent who tried to stop it was chased away. The pastor, who is 41-year-old Ifediora Joseph, claimed that the Holy Spirit told him to do it. Police have since raided the church, rescued the children, and arrested him along with some members. Well, we'll see some of the reactions on social media to this one, but I tell you, it's really bizarre to see such a story coming out this morning, talking about 20 children, being flogged, spiritual cleansing. Where did he get that? Where did he get that directive from?
See, that's the thing. Before I use this big word, maybe we should read this.
Okay, let's see some of the reactions on social media. NM Ndubisi says, anyone practicing any doctrine outside Bible is not practicing Christianity and cannot be said to be a Christian or a pastor. Let's see more reactions. Moya Baby says, with blood in a basin, for what exactly? Obviously, there's a video that's been online. We can't take the video because it's quite... it's not a good look at all. It's not good. It's not good for a morning show. It says, I'm very sure that the parents of these children are not aware they are going through this. This is the kind of initiation they will do to these children, and in later days of their lives, they will start having spiritual problems.
Well,
the CNRE 71480 says, send him to jail and charge the kid's parents to court for child abuse. Take the kids' custody away from their parents. What did they do to those kids in that video? What they did to those kids in that video was brutality. Totally abhorrent. That's what I was going to say about the video. Blue Bridge Clef says, good. Now they should hand over canes to those children for retaliation.
So there is no way we can talk about this story without frowning our faces. But for the essence of TV, let's just have a normal face. Because it is not only appalling, it is disgraceful. You see, when I talk about demarketing Nigeria, this is one of the things I talk about here.
What do you think should be the best punishment for this man right now?
Before we go to punishment, let us look at the reason why this can even be done in the first place. There's what they call delusion of grandeur. Now, what this means is that when someone has, quote unquote, believed in their lies for a long time, at some point the lies now begin to formulate to become something that looks like resembles the truth in their mind. So I think first and foremost, you look at the mental state of the man that did that first and ask a simple question. Because if you divorce religion from it and look at the person as a human being, you realize that the kind of upbringing that man that man has, or what I was brought up with, you can tell that it's not only questionable, it's the kind of person that if for any reason he has congregations in his church, if at all he has a church, such a person can lead his congregation to look to, like they say, bisma. Because if you look at it, the fact that he can line up children and be flogging them like that, okay, again, we can't take the video, there is some other thing going on there. I don't want to use the word spirituality. I want to face it, from an angle where we can see what it is before we decide to now say, let's social media begin to have their judgment on it. Of course, he has been arrested. But this has been happening. That this one made it to light doesn't mean it's not still happening as we speak. I think it is high time that we need to begin to have not just the way EFCC goes into organizations or go after politicians. We need to begin to have a separate body that will target so-called religious people who use the canopy of religion to carry out some heinous crime. I thank God in the past that so-called Pastor King was arrested for setting ablaze one of his what's it called, congregation members or something, right? That was supposed to be a good example. Now we're seeing this one's coming up. Meaning to say, for him to have done it with so much confidence, he has been doing it over and over again. Now, that's just on one end. Then the parents, didn't they know what they were taking their children in for? Let's assume they had no idea what it was. For the fact that they've said is a spiritual cleansing, shouldn't that give you a red flag? Shouldn't that be something that will ask questions to say, wait a minute, have you gone to the proper checks to know if your child probably has some autism or something? There must be some medical
these children
explanation.
Are even
too young,
between the ages of 5 and 9.
Do you understand? So there must be some medical explanation if your child acts in a funny way. However, again, it boils down to education. Most of these parents are not very educated. I can tell you, no normal educated parent will take his or her child to such, gathering or such area to expect some form of spiritual cleansing that will include this kind of thing. What if it wasn't recorded? What if there were other activities that could have taken place after the flogging? What if one of them could have been sacrificed? You have no idea. So apart from the fact that religion has a way, if we're not careful, to incite a lot of violence, it also has its own good part, which is it helps to create hope, which is good for people, right? I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't be religious. That's fine. But when you bring in some barbaric act into religion, they will ask questions. And that's why we are broadcasters. That's why we're journalists. Ask questions. Why has this happened? And if it has happened, what led to it? Are there some other connections to it? Is it doing this because he's answerable to some certain person? Is it answering to a higher body? Apart from the fact they said that God told him, if God can speak to you to do such a thing, I'm sure God can also said, look, why not use that your power I want to give to you to go and stop corruption, to go and stop Boko Haram? You get me now? So you see, let's call a spade, okay? The more we pet this thing and sweep it under the carpet, the more it keeps on happening, right? We need to come to a point where in this country, again, I'm not saying you shouldn't be religious, good and fine, right? But know your boundaries. Do not hide under the canopy of religion to carry out some heinous crimes. As we speak right now, more are happening because they've been documented. Doesn't mean that people are not dying out of such circumstances. Let's be honest. We've had cases where, look, there's this wonderful gentleman who does a show on radio, right? He's called Barrister Olumide. His job is to explain to you that religion is totally different from marriage. He explains it properly, that a lot of people have gone into marriages and died in the process because they say, oh, my pastor said this, or my mom said this, or my spiritual leader said this. You should have your own brain. You should be responsible enough to know what you're getting into or getting your children into. The other comment there that we saw, that most parents put their children through a lot, and at the end of the day, when the child grows up, begins to, illustrate some funny characters, we don't know where it obviously will come from. Now, that is a spiritual angle. I'm not a spiritualist, quote and unquote, right? I like to be very, very factual in things. If this has happened, let us trail it down and investigate and find out, are there other bodies that he's, connected with or connected to, right? Who have been doing these things, right? Behind closed doors. We have cases of people being kidnapped and people being missing. You have no idea. If, for instance, any of those children there, one of them probably gets missing in the whole issue that went on, right? You don't think the parents will want to hide it. They'll just shoot under the carpet so it doesn't spoil the name of the so-called religious leader or something. It is time for us to call a spade a spade. Mind you, maybe the next great leader could just be amongst those children. What does that tell you? We've lost an opportunity for someone, right, to become a great leader tomorrow, all because of bad decision. And we keep on saying that parenting is very, very key. That's where the government comes in. Are we having a lot of good town hall meetings to educate parents who might not have the opportunity to have gone through proper schooling while they were young? To say, look, now you're a parent. You must be far more responsible. If your child is acting a funny way that doesn't look as if, the character is a bit different from other kids, it might just be, some neuro problem that a doctor can correct. Why not go to the hospital? You need to educate these families, educate these parents, because the more we see these things, right, there's a huge tendency that anyone who has never been to Nigeria before, again, I keep on saying, let's don't demarket Nigeria. There's a huge tendency that whoever has never been to Nigeria before will begin to think that we are all, barbaric in nature. Because that, as far as I'm concerned, that's a very barbaric act.
Very, very. Those parents need to take those children and go and do another type of cleansing, so to speak. I mean, at the end of the day, what I'm just seeing some of the things that come out of illiteracy, really.
And that's the thing.
And maybe it's not even just illiteracy, because there are times where
ignorance,
literate people who are literate also find themselves stuck doing things that you under religion, that you wonder why can't they question this.
And guess what? I was just going to say it now. The thing is, why not ask questions? Are you afraid to ask questions? See, I keep on saying this, which is this. Look, if God can speak to you to tell me to do this, that same God can actually speak to me. I don't need you to interpret what God wants to tell me. Because he says that, look, we are all created in his own image, right? For those who are Christians. And so, that be the case, if you meditate, you can talk to your creator. Isn't it so? It's not what we're taught for those who are Christians. Even those who are Muslim, the same thing too. Keep yourself holy and you might be able to have some form of connection. But then again, right? I'm not a clergy person. I'm just saying that all clergy people out there, no matter your religion, irrespective of who you worship and how you worship, understand that it is not an excuse for you to carry a barbaric act. Right?
I mean, look, like he says, the Holy Spirit, that certainly was not any Holy Spirit.
Of course it wasn't. It was just delusion of grandeur.
Whatever spirit it was that said it, but that man needs to be disciplined. That man, look, we don't need to see that man out of that the prison in a few years time.
But you're not the judge.
He should. He should
be proven guilty by the court of law first.
Life imprisonment.
Why?
Seriously.
If you're made a judge, a lot of people will not make it to the light of day.
No, but seriously, it's not funny.
Right.
Life imprisonment. Look at him flogging children between ages 5 and 9.
And throwing kids back and forth.
Are you saying to me that life imprisonment is too small? He should be in the prison for that man needs no reason to come to see the light of it or be seeing people.
So at this point, I would say let's allow the police do their work. They will charge him to court, and let's now watch and see what comes after.
All right, we'll keep our fingers crossed. This story, this is not the end of this story. We'll certainly keep our eyes on it and see how it all pans out. But let's move away from that story now and bring it back to still in Nigeria anyway. Another story which has been catching our eyes, the $100,000 given to Super Falcons.
Okay.
Now, Super Falcons captain Rasheedat Ajibade has revealed that the team has not still received the $100,000 promised to them by President Tinubu after their women's AFCON victory, which everyone really applauded and lauded. She said that despite repeated assurances, the money hasn't been paid. Rasheedat also spoke about her life growing up in a compound of nearly 100 people in Musa. She said people from her community keep asking her for help, but she tells them, we haven't received it yet. When it's paid, you will see it. And I know how that can be. Black tax is one of the biggest, if not the biggest tax that we face as Nigerians. Monies requested from family members, from cousins, from relatives that just feel entitled to your money, even when you have loads and loads of responsibilities. But we as Nigerians, is one of the things, it's like an unwritten rule where you just feel like you are responsible for these people, but it can take a toll. So I can imagine how some of them, they will not focus on their work again. They're already calculating that $100,000. How much is it in Naira? Imagine. And she's moving from point A to point B. She'd not give me. She's wicked. She's stingy. She's this. Meanwhile, they've not even paid. Meanwhile, because the more your money earns, the more your lifestyle is inflated.
Right.
So you have bills to pay. But unfortunately, so I can imagine what she's having to the explanation. Like they say, you go explain, Taya. That's if she wants to explain. Because now she says, I keep telling them, we haven't received it yet. When it's paid, you see some of them saying, you run, mama shekini. But let's see some of the reactions on social media and see how Nigerians are reacting to this story. I know there are some people this will make the people that felt that the money was too much to be happy, because some people already were saying that it is too much.
Cut it down.
Wicked people. Some people thought that the money was even a little compared to what they would have paid to Super Eagles, whatever it is. But Clean says it won't be a surprise if this lady starts receiving calls and possible threats from the government after this revelation. I hope not. Let's see some more reactions. Akilmi Toby says there's a process government works with. You don't expect them to be credited next day, but it should become a big deal if not received within 6 months. I agree. Fuji Dancer says join the long queue. Executive declarations, judicial verdicts all get crunched in the civil service gridlock with very little good results emerging or so. Let's see. Omo Vigo says this will definitely take a long time for the government to redeem this promise. They can't just go about releasing $100,000 when the money isn't going into their pocket. It's only a matter of urgency if it involves politicians.
Right.
Echoes of Nigeria. Let's take this last one. It says she could have kept calm on this. The government may decide to withhold it because of this reckless talk. No, they shouldn't do that.
Well, again,
why would they withhold it?
So I pledge to give you something.
I didn't say when.
Can I give you a handshake, please? So I will give you this. I didn't say when. The fact that I've said, and this part where I'm going to stand with the government at least for once, let me just be, we will give you this in the open, in public eye. I, CNC, right? Okay, no, Bola Tinubu now, President Bola Tinubu, who is the CNC, Commander-in-Chief. I said, we will give you this money for a job well done. You've earned this. It's a gift, right? See, Nigerians were too emotional. And then we forget so soon that there are processes, okay? That's why it's called a democratic government. Things must happen. There must be accountability for that money. If that money is being pulled out from the coffers of the federal government, it must go through due process, not a small amount of money. $100,000 for how many people? And then $50,000 for the other people too. So it's a lot of money. It must be well accounted for so that nobody pockets anything. Now, he announced that he will give you the money. There's going to be what they call another ceremony of the money being handed over. So I think she was too quick to mention that. Yes, she might be under pressure from family, friends, but that's a personal issue. She should relax. She's no longer for her family alone. She's now a government, put this way, a federal government child. Use that word if I'm quote and unquote. In other words,
they even received national honors.
Exactly. So for the fact that you received a national honor already, it shows that we have you in mind. They've announced to give you the money, right? In public. It wasn't said behind closed doors. So I think she was too quick to have said that. She's only just going to open wounds that is not necessary. If nothing's broken, then don't try to fix it. Relax. Like the other person that commented there said, give it 5 to 6 months. If it doesn't come up, then it's a different case. But understand how the government works. Government must make sure that the government must make sure that things work properly. There are due processes to these things. I mean, it's not just we come here to wag our mouths or wag our chin and talk. It's the fact. We've announced to give you money. Calm your nerves.
I think they should also have, from the government, there should be a communication officer who is also speaking.
I'm sure there is a communication officer.
Okay, because maybe the communication officer is not doing enough, so that because that's how to bridge the gap. That's communication for you, so that at least, so if you're going out and saying you've not been paid,
right,
and that communication officer is doing their job, it's going to come back to you that.
But I spoke to you already.
We've been speaking, so we don't know for sure if that person has been doing, because we understand how, if you deal with federal government, if you deal with government,
you must be ready to wait.
You must be ready to wait. It takes quite some time. Obviously, she's not aware.
She has
so
no
it
idea.
Sometimes it takes an experience to understand how these things happen. So I don't even think she was coming from a point of maybe trying to drag the government. I think it's from the place of pressure, like she had said.
So that's the thing about pressure now. You see, that you are under pressure doesn't mean that the second party should be under pressure. We keep telling people, you must have a matured approach to things. That is where maturity comes in. To say, okay, it's not as if I'm hungry, not as if I'm starving, I'm eating. But when I say I'm eating, in other words, you have food to eat.
It reminds me of what the president said. Did you see that video where he says, We may be hungry, but we
Yes.
can manage our hunger.
Exactly. So let's apply that quote of his now to this matter. Yes, we've said we'll give you money, but at least the one that you have, manage that one
Manage
first. Until the one we've pledged to give you comes forth. Having said so, again, if we look at it from the two angles, right? On the flip side, the fact that she has mentioned it will make those people who are supposed to be communicating properly get up and doing. To now say in the morning, up and doing, and get things done and communicate more. So it has its place. Also, it also has its misgivings.
All right, that's where we bring it to a close here on the social listening segment right here on the BDTV Breakfast Show. It's been a super week so far. Interesting stories so far from the start of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Today, of course, as always, we went from the news to the newspaper review, from Business Day to Punch to Vanguard. We came also to the Business Morning, to the big story, and now social listening, where the bizarre story to the Super Falcons. And like we say, you might be hungry, but you should
Manage your
hunger. We're also managing our hunger today. All right, we'll have to wrap it up here today on the social listening segment. My name is Elizabeth Musa.
I am Onyeka Valentine.
Until Monday, keep watching BDTV. Same time, same station. Thank you for watching.